Okay, guys, so on Friday we started reading the Magic Faraway Tree, and the kids had a cousin coming to stay with them. Who remembers what his name was? The cousin's name? No, Joe's the little boy. What was Joe's cousin's name? Starts with a D. Dave. Very good, Dave. And Dave was very excited to go see the Enchanted Wood. Hey, do you remember how excited he was? He was a little bit naughty, wasn't he? Right, so let's see what happens. Let's see what happens when they go to the Enchanted Wood. You can finish it tomorrow, not to worry. Right. The children ate their breakfast quickly. Mother told Bessie and Franny to cut sandwiches for themselves and to take a small chocolate cake. You can take a packet of biscuits too, she said, and there are apples in that dish over there. If you are hungry when you come home tonight, I will bake you some potatoes in the oven, and you can eat them in their skins with salt and butter. That sounds yummy, guys. Are you listening? Are you listening? Good. Right. Oh, Mother, we shall be hungry, said Joe at once. Hurry up with those sandwiches, Bessie and Franny. We want to start off as soon as possible. Now, don't be home late or I shall worry, said Mother. Look after your cousin, Joe. Yes, I will, promised Joe. At last, everything was ready. Joe packed the food into the leather bag and slung it over his shoulder. Then the four of them set to the Enchanted Wood. It didn't take long to get there. A narrow ditch was between the lane and the wood. You've got to jump over the ditch, Dave, said Joe. They all jumped over. Dave stood still when he was in the wood. What a strange noise the leaves of the trees are making, he said. It's as if they're talking to one another, telling secrets. Whisher, 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 whispered the trees. They are talking secrets, said Bessie. And do you know, if the trees have any messages for us, we can hear it by pressing our ears to the trunks of the trees. Then we really hear what they say. Whisher, 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 said the trees. Come on, said Joe impatiently. Let's go to the faraway tree. They all went on, and soon came to the strange magic tree. Dave stared at it in the greatest astonishment. Oh, wow, it's simply enormous, he said. I've never seen such a big tree in my life, and you can't possibly see the top. Goodness gracious, what kind of tree is this? It's got oak leaves, and yes, it doesn't seem like an oak. It's a funny tree, said Bessie. It may grow acorns and oak leaves for a little way, and then suddenly you notice it's growing plums. Then another day it may grow apples or pears. You just never know, but it's all very exciting. How do you climb it? Asked Dave. In the ordinary way? Well, we will today, said Joe, because we want to show you our friends who live inside the tree. But sometimes there's a rope that's let down the tree, and we can go up quickly with the help of that. Or sometimes Moonface lets down a cushion on the end of a rope and then pulls us up one by one. He swung himself up into the tree, and then the others followed. After a bit, Dave gave a shout. I say, it's most extraordinary. This tree is growing nuts now. Look! Sure enough it was. Dave picked some and cracked them. They were hazelnuts, ripe and sweet. Everyone had some and enjoyed them. Now, when they all had got up very high indeed, Dave was most surprised to see a little window in the trunk of the tree. Goodness! Does somebody live here? He called to the others. Look, there's a window here. I'm going to peep in. Layla, are you listening, sweetie? You'd better not, shouted Joe. The angry pixie lives there. He hates people peeping in. But Dave felt so curious that he just had to peep in. The angry pixie was at home. He was filling his kettle with water when he looked up and saw Dave's surprised face at his window. Nothing made the pixie so angry as to see people looking at him. He rushed to the window at once and flung it open. Peeping again! He shouted. It's too bad. All day and night people come peeping. Take that! He emptied the kettle of water all over poor Dave. Then he slammed his window and drew the curtains across. Bessie and Franny couldn't help laughing. I told you not to peep in at the angry pixie, said Joe, wiping Dave with his hanky. He's nearly always in a bad temper. Oh, and by the way, Dave, I must warn you about something else. There's an old woman who lives high up in the tree, who's always washing. Do you remember what her name is, guys? Good girl, Dame Wash-a-Lot. She empties the water down the tree and it comes slish-sloshing down. You'll have to look out for that or you'll get wet. Dave looked up the tree as if he half expected the water to come tumbling down at once. Come on, said Bessie. We'll come to where the owl lives soon. He's a friend of Silky's and sometimes brings us notes from her. The owl was fast asleep. He usually only woke up at night time. Dave peered in at his window and saw the big owl asleep on a bed. He couldn't help laughing. I am enjoying all of this, he said to Franny. It's quite an adventure. The children climbed higher and came to a broad branch. There's a dear little yellow door with a knocker and a bell, cried Dave in surprise, staring at the door set neatly in the trunk. Who lives here? Our friend Silky, said Joe. Ring the bell and she'll open the door. Dave rang the little bell, ting-a-ling-a-ling, and heard it go ting-a-ling-a-ling. Footsteps pattered to the door. It opened, and a pretty little elf looked out. Her hair hung round her face like golden mist. Hello, Silky, cried Joe. We've come to see you, and we've brought our cousin Dave, who has come to live with us. He's having a lovely time exploring the tree. How do you do, Dave? Said Silky, holding out her small hand. Dave shook her hand shyly. He thought Silky was the loveliest creature he'd ever seen. I'll come with you if you're going to visit Moonface, said Silky. I want to borrow some jam from him. I'll take some pop biscuits with, and we'll have them in Moonface's house. Whatever are pop biscuits? Asked Dave in surprise. Wait and see, said Joe with a grin. They all went up the tree again. Soon they heard a funny noise. That's old Mr. What's-his-name snoring, said Joe. Look, there he is. Sure enough, there he was, sitting in a comfortable chair, his hands folded over his big tummy and his mouth wide open. How I'd love to pop something into his open mouth, said David once. Yes, everyone feels like that, said Joe. Moonface and Silky once popped some acorns in, didn't you, Silky? And what's-his-name was very angry. He threw Moonface up through the hole in the cloud and landed him into the strange country there. Where's the old saucepan man? Asked Bessie. He's usually with his friends, Mr. What's-his-name. I expect he's gone to see Moonface, said Silky. Come on, we'll soon be there. As they went up the tree, Silky suddenly stopped. Listen, she said. They all listened. They heard a curious noise. Slishy, slushy, slishy, slushy. Coming nearer and nearer. It's Dame Wash-a-Lot's dirty water coming, yelled Joe. Get under a branch, everyone. Dave wasn't as quick as the others. They all hid under big branches, but poor old Dave wasn't quite under his when the water came pouring down the tree. It tumbled onto his head and went down his neck. Dave was very angry. The others were sorry, but they thought it was very funny too. Next time I climb this tree, I'm wearing a bathing suit, said Dave, trying to wipe himself dry. Really? I think somebody ought to stop that Dame Wash-a-Lot pouring her washing away like that. How disgusting! Oh, you'll soon get used to it and dodge the water easily, said Joe. On they all went up the tree again, and at last almost came to the top. There they saw a door in the trunk of the tree, and from behind the door came the sound of voices. That's Moonface and old Saucepan Man, said Joe, and he banged on the door. It flew open, and Moonface looked out. His big round face beamed with smiles when he saw who his visitors were. Hello, 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 he said. Come along in. The Saucepan Man is here. Everyone went into Moonface's curious round room. There was a large hole in the middle of it, which was the beginning of the slippery slip, the wonderful slide that went round and round down the inside of the tree to the bottom. Moonface's furniture was arranged round the inside of the tree trunk. It was all curved to fit the curve of the tree. His bed was curved, the chairs were curved, the sofa, the stove. It was very strange. Dave stared at it all in the greatest surprise. He really felt as if he must be in a dream. He saw somebody very strange sitting on the couch. Who do you think it was, guys?
Mr. Saucepan.
It was old Saucepan Man. He really was a curious sight. He was hung all round with saucepans and kettles, and he wore a saucepan for a hat. You could hardly see anything of him except his face, hands, and feet, because he was so hung about with saucepans and things. He made a tremendous clatter whenever he moved. "Who's that?" he said, looking at Dave. "This is Dave," said Joe. And Dave went forward to shake hands. The saucepan man was very deaf, though he did hear some things quite well, but he nearly always heard everything wrong, and sometimes he was very funny. "Cave," he said. "Well, that's a funny name for a boy." "Not Cave, Dave," shouted Moonface. "Brave," said the saucepan man, shaking hands. "Good morning, Brave. I hope you are well." Dave giggled. Moonface got ready to shout again, but Silky quickly handed him her bag of pop biscuits. "Don't get cross with him," she said. "Look, let's all have some pop biscuits. They're all fresh made today. And oh, Moonface, do tell us what land is at the top of the tree today." "The land of..." How do you know? Have you read this?
No, I have listened to it on the phone.
"Oh, the land of Topsy-Turvy," said Moonface. "But I don't advise you to go there. It's most uncomfortable." "Oh, do let's!" cried Dave. "Can't we just peep in it?" "We'll see," said Joe, giving him a pop biscuit. "Eat this, Dave." Pop biscuits were lovely. Dave put one in his mouth and bit it. It went pop at once, and he found his mouth full of sweet honey from the middle of the biscuit. "Oh, delicious," he said. "I'll have another. I say, Joe, do let's take our lunch up to the top of Topsy-Turvy. Oh, do. Right, guys, do you think they should go? Do you think they should go to the land of Topsy-Turvy?
But they
Don't tell if you know what's going to happen, okay? Because the other children don't know. So we're going to have to wait until tomorrow to find out, did they go or didn't they go? What do you think at home? Do you think they should go? Do you think they shouldn't go?
shouldn't.
See you all tomorrow for story. Bye.
But